Folks, welcome to this week's episode of Roundabout Sports presented by Interstate 70 Sports Media and by Harsh Construction LLC with over 50 combined years experience in the field of home renovations and outdoor needs. Please sure to call 618-363-9818 for a free quote today. Thank you so much for tuning in. It is a humid Wednesday, August 6th, 2025. I'm the Maestro, Jeremy Carp, alongside the amazing one herself, the fabulous Babs. Babs, how are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Well, you know what? We got a nice series win against the Dodgers, so that is always a great way to start the night. A much-needed victory for the St. Louis Cardinals. 5-3 over the Los Angeles Dodgers. Some clutch hitting by Mason Wynn, Jordan Walker, and Lars Nootbaar. And congratulations goes in order to Riley O'Brien for notching his first career save. The 30-year-old got the save today, especially now with Ryan Helsley traded. They needed someone else, of course, to get the save. So congratulations to Riley. With that win, the Cardinals are back at 500 at 58-58. And they have a very crucial 3-game series at Busch Stadium coming up against the Chicago Cubs. Yeah, be ready for that one, folks. Babs, what are your takes on today's victory?
Well, I think it's a good day when we beat the Dodgers any day. So it's awesome. And I'm really looking forward to the Cubs series. I think that'll kind of tell us where we're at as far as a team, so to speak. So a lot of exciting baseball still coming up, though.
Oh, yes. There's a lot of really baseball coming up. And, the Cardinals, though, we take a look at some of the games they have ahead. We got the 3-game series against the Cubs. We got the 3-game set against the Rockies and the 3-game series against the Yankees, all of which are at Busch Stadium before they head back on the road to take on the Marlins and then the Rays. As we are in the middle of the wild card frenzy, the Cardinals are not out of it. Let's be honest. It may seem like it sometimes, especially on the games that Miles Michaelis pitches, but the Cardinals are not out of the playoff hunt just yet. So there are a lot of important series coming up that tells us as far as what this team is looking like.
I have a question. Is my audio okay this week? Because we did have double audio whenever I did it this way. Are we okay today?
It sounds great. It sounds fantastic.
Okay.
The new camera you got looks great. So
thank you.
Everything is turning out just fine. I'll gladly drink to that. Granted, it's water, but I'll still drink to it. I need to be hydrated.
Right.
Because it's still summer out there, especially in freaking Missouri. Folks, also want to make it known that you can find Interstate 70 Sports Media, you can find Roundabout Sports on Spotify, on iTunes, on Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Pocket Cast, and anywhere else you may stream your shows. Now, Interstate 70 Sports Media is on Facebook, on X, and on the official YouTube channel, where you can find a lot of the shows, such as the Blues Fan Forum podcast, Roundabout Sports, Issues with Wrestling, and the Redbird Rundown podcast as well. And a few other future shows in store, but we're not going to give that surprise away just yet. However, there is something that we do have as a surprise, and I'm going to actually be backstage for this one because it is not my surprise to reveal. This was all what was about to be revealed is all Babs doing. So, Babs, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I thought it was time that we had a fresh start on the Roundabout sports page, and I designed a new logo for our podcast. And if Jeremy will pull that up for us, I actually have us on there now. I think it looks amazing, and I think that it's really cute. And apparently, I'm a huge soccer fan because the picture's got a soccer ball on my arm. But, you know, it still looks great though, and I thought it would be awesome to have our faces along with the show, and I thought it was really cool. So I hope you guys enjoy it, and I'll upload it to our Facebook page tonight, and I will get that all sorted.
I definitely love the new logo, but there's some, what's funny though? Either you're
I
a
love
either you're a soccer fan or you have a Pokeball on your arm.
or something, yeah.
So
It's pretty great though.
I do love it though. You did a fantastic job. You seriously did. I think it's great. But yes, there's a lot we got to talk about today on the show. Before we have our special guest on later on, Tom Swoboda from the UFL and football coach, of course. There's a lot in his coaching career we definitely are going to want to hear about, learn about. It's always great because the local levels matter just as much, and believe it or not, maybe if not more, than the professional levels as well when it comes to sports.
Right.
So with that, though, we are going to continue on now on Roundabout Sports. And thank you all so much for tuning in, whether you're on following me on X, whether you're on one of the Facebook pages, tuning in on our Twitch at JCarp32 Squad. So thank you all so much. So if you're just joining us, the Cardinals got the 3 win over the Los Angeles Dodgers today, which makes up big time for the 12-6 loss they had last night. But because of that, they took the series win. And what's interesting is, for as many teams as the Cardinals have struggled against this year, I will say they seem to really have the Dodgers number this year.
Yeah, and that's always great. And the Dodgers are just so star-studded. And it's actually very, what's the word I'm looking for? Very positive, and it gives us a good look that we could actually win some games.
Yes, very much. And like I said, we talked about the strength of the schedule. You got some good contending teams ahead, such as the Cubs and the Yankees, and even look, the Marlins. I know I gave the Cardinals a lot of crap when they were losing to the Marlins, but it does not take away from the fact that, yes, the Marlins are still a competitive team right now, one of the hottest teams in baseball. They're 55-57, so once again, they're right in the thick of the wild card race as well, alongside the Cardinals. And we're taking.
And to be honest, that's actually really cool to see.
Yeah, like right now, the Cardinals are 5.5 out of the final wild card spot. The Mets so the top 3 spots go to the Cubs, the Padres, and the Mets if the season ended today. And in between them, you got the Reds, the Giants, the Cardinals at 5.5 back, and then the Marlins at 6.5 back. So, and honestly, though, aside from the Marlins, maybe the Diamondbacks at 54-60, I don't think there's anyone else that's going to compete for that wild card spot besides the aforementioned Cardinals, Marlins, Giants, and Reds. I don't think anybody past that 6.5 game mark is really going to give a run for their money come late September and into October.
Honestly, I think we have a good chance against the Yankees too. The Yankees are slowly losing their steam, and we might pick up some games from them as well.
Yeah, and the Yankees, what's funny is I look at the AL East standing now. Right now, it is definitely Toronto's division. They are 3.5 ahead of the Red Sox and 6.5 ahead of the Yankees. And I have to just say it. This is where I'm going to say I need to get some sound cues because we are about to segue into my favorite segment, our favorite segment here of Roundabout Sports. Just how bad do the Colorado Rockies suck? All right, now you're going to wonder, why am I going from the Toronto Blue Jays to Rockies? Well, it's simple. The Blue Jays just got done playing Rockies in a 3-game series, and in that 3-game series, the Toronto Blue Jays outscored Colorado 45-6. And right now, the Rockies today lost their 84th game of the season. They're 30-84. And they lost 20-1 to the Toronto Blue Jays. Toronto had 20 runs on 24 hits. The Rockies had 1 run on 3 hits, and that 1 run came in the first inning. Toronto had 3 in the third, 3 in the fifth, 4 in the sixth, 2 in the eighth, and 8 in the ninth. Yeah, it's not looking good for Colorado.
I've never heard of anything like this in my life. I've never heard or never seen anything like this ever. And I've been a baseball fan since, before the dinosaurs were here. But,
But what's funny is that the Colorado Rockies still have a chance to avoid infamy. They've already set some bad records this year, but I think if you look at it, they need 11 more wins for them to tie the 2024 White Sox for the worst record in modern history. So you have 11 wins to tie, 12 to surpass it. At some point, you would have to think the Rockies can muster up 12 wins. They got the Diamondbacks up. They got, of course, the Cardinals. They got the Diamondbacks again afterwards. Then the Dodgers. You know what? Maybe not. Maybe they won't win 11 games. I don't know.
I was going to say, that sounds kind of tough to me if you ask me.
Oh, yeah, but look what the Cardinals did against the Rockies. They shit the bed completely. So I don't take, you know what? So for all I know, the jig is up. The jury's out on what happens. And you want to know something? With everything going on, Nolan Arenado, going back to the Cardinals, Nolan Arenado went to the IL. And it's a lot of people are thinking that might have been his last game in St. Louis as a Cardinal. Babs, do you think Nolan Arenado plays in St. Louis anymore? Let's really think about this.
Well, sadly, I do not. Sadly, I think that he is going to be gone because just of the fact of how upset that he was that Helsley got traded at the deadline, and he was kind of unsure of how his future for himself was going to be here. And I know that they were trying to trade him the last 2 seasons, and I honestly think that they asked him if he would be traded somewhere else today or this year, and he said no. So I would love for Arenado to come back, but I also want him to be happy too. So I really don't know, but it's like I said, though, I honestly think that he's not a Cardinal next year.
You know what the funny thing is, though? The Cardinals failed twice to trade him this year. Now, everybody's going to say, oh, well, what about it was just the Astros. No, it was not just the Astros. There was a chance that Arenado was going to be traded to the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, if we have to be as specific about it. And those were the 2 teams in the American League West. He has a no trade clause, so he has a list of teams he will not go to. And those 2 teams just happen to be the 2 teams that were really interested in him. I do think Helsley's trade affected a lot of the mood that Arenado has. He made a lot of comments regarding figuring out even where he is. With the Cardinals.
To be honest, there's just a lot of uncertainty about the Cardinals themselves because, well, we have new management next year. We don't have a Mo next year. And that's why I was thinking that we're going to make very minimal moves at the deadline because, honestly, how would you rate Mo's trade deadline as he's walking out the door?
You know, I put that poll up on the I-70 Twitter or X, whatever the hell you want to call it, but I put it up there, and the majority of, in fact, let me pull that up now, and then I'll tell you what my thoughts are and how it aligns kind of with what I think. So right now, 31.6% of the, or I'm sorry, yeah, 31.6% say a B, which is where I'm at. I did say B. 3.1% said A. 42.8% said C. And then 22.5% of the voters said D or F.
So it sounds like everyone's on the middle ground of it doesn't really matter, but yay, let's go? Question mark. It just seems like everybody's kind of on the fence.
Polarizing thing. A lot of people have polarizing opinions about the Cardinals trade deadline and how Mo handled it. I do think not trading Brendan Donovan, while a smart move in the sense of keep him on the team, a lot of people thought he should have been traded because he's at peak value right now. They thought they should find a way to get Arenado to waive the no trade clause so he could go somewhere. But you trade 3 relievers and you essentially get 6 prospects. You don't get anybody that's immediately going to be on the major league roster. I like the Matt's trade because it brings you Blaze Jordan, who was a Heim Bloom draft pick when he was with Boston. So, and he's, an infielder, so it brings you some versatility. There's a lot of good future infielder prospects in this Cardinals organization. That's why I don't think it's going to be a big deal that Arenado leaves. Because I think they're going to be just fine. My issue with all of this stems from the fact that at one point you had a Gold Glove and All-Star in Nolan Arenado, and you had the literal NL MVP in Paul Goldschmidt, and you did nothing. You didn't. They have not won a single playoff game since Paul Goldschmidt and or Nolan Arenado has been on this team. Let alone at the same time, and let alone 2022, which is the biggest anomaly. They won the division. Pujols riding high, having a great resurging year. Yachty was having one of his best years in his final season. And what happens? Helsley gets hurt in the game right before the wild card against Philly, and they go in there, and the team just craps the bed.
What year did we get Nato? It was 19, right?
So we got, when it comes to Nolan Arenado, I remember we traded him and got all that good money, and we basically fleeced them. He joined in 2021.
Oh, so it's been more recent than that. So see, that almost makes me wonder if the Rockies knew. That almost makes me wonder if the Rockies knew what was going to happen, like today, like this season, because maybe they were just trying to get him out of there so he is not stuck in a 30-win team.
Right.
Because I would much rather him be on the Cardinals and have our season that we had rather than a star third baseman on a team that's only won 30 games.
Oh, I look at this because Goldie came in 2019 to the Cardinals, and look where
Goldie was
once
19.
again,
Okay.
Goldie was 19, Arenado was 21. And everybody thought when we got Nolan Arenado, we're thinking, holy crap. I mean, Cardinal fans were ecstatic.
Oh,
Analysts
yeah.
were amazed. They thought this was finally the year. Like, that because let me really put into perspective. We're just going to do this 2020 Cardinals, the 2022 Cardinals season, which was basically the last big one they've had. They went 93-69. And, right now you had it was also, I believe it was, it was Ollie's first year too. But anyway, you had Goldie win the MVP. You had Arenado win 2 Player of the Months and Goldie win a Player of the Month. There was multiple Gold Glove winners, All-Star selections. And I look at some of the guys on this team. First off, I want to ask you a question. Do you know the longest tenured Cardinal right now?
Player-wise?
Yeah, player-wise. Who's the longest tenured on the Cardinals right now?
Corbin or Newbar?
Nope. It is,
neither one.
Believe it or not, Ivan Herrera. Herrera has been in the organization since 2016, but he's been on the big league roster in some way since 2022. So
that makes sense.
And he's only 25, so it really puts things into perspective how old we are. But I digress. So with the Cardinals,
thanks for that.
Yeah, of course, I aim to please. I take into account everything with these Cardinals teams over the past few years. I give the Cardinals trade deadline a B-, probably just because, to backtrack to your earlier question, just because they got good prospects out of it and they moved who they could. What do you give them?
I'm really shocked that they were able to move Matz. And I say that because I think he's been hurt more than he's been a Cardinal in playing.
It sure feels like it.
It really does. But I am very excited for Blaze. I think he's going to be a great addition here soon. And I've been seeing some of his numbers, and I'm really excited to see what he does. And hopefully it'll work out in our end.
I sure hope so. Well, folks, it is about that amazing time where we introduce our guest for the evening here on Roundabout Sports. Now, I want to say right now, folks, there's a lot of good things to say about this fine gentleman. Once again, he is a football coach. He is a sideline assistant with the UFL and the St. Louis Battlehawks. And this is an interesting one because I got a story to share with him on this. He is a long snapping instructor as well. So, folks, it is my pleasure to welcome to Roundabout Sports, episode 142, the one and only Tom Swoboda.
How we doing tonight, guys?
Hi, it's nice to meet you.
Hey, Tom.
Same here. Hey, how you doing, Jeremy? Thanks for having me on, and finally good to be on. I appreciate it.
No, thank you for being on and giving us some time.
Exactly. It's such a pleasure to have you on. So I'm going to jump right into it. For the Battlehawks, it's been disappointing because the past 2 seasons, we get to our own conference or league, whatever you want to say, conference championship, and they're both hosted in St. Louis. Both times they end in defeat. Last year by the Brahmas, this year to the Defenders. Mm-hmm. What did you think was the biggest issue with these Battlehawk teams that just couldn't get themselves over the final hump?
Well, I'll tell you what, I've been with the Battlehawks for 3 years now, and you couldn't ask for a better coaching staff. You couldn't ask for a better group of players. It's like a family there. And I would say, nothing really wrong on our end. We just ran into two really, really good football teams. DC this past season was just, they were phenomenal. They were like running into a buzzsaw. And San Antonio last year, they got hot at the end of the year and really were playing some really good football. And their GM and their coach did a hell of a job with that team. And that's, I got to give it up to those guys. I mean, they just came out. They played good football. You could just see it. They came out and they, some days them guys are better than us guys. And we had two of those games, and we'll be back next year and just as strong and maybe even better. So.
Hey, I was a season ticket holder in 2020, and it was amazing time there. I had the best time at those games. It was so fun.
That 2020 season, holy cow, wasn't it a shame that it got shut down? Because that was incredible.
Yeah,
not just for St. Louis, but the whole league.
Oh, yeah, and I was actually going to ask you, do you notice any changes in the feel of the league since COVID, or is it about the same?
Well, I'll be honest with you. In 2020, I wasn't actually with the team. I started in 2023, 24 in this past season. So I really couldn't tell you what the culture and the atmosphere was before I got there. I can tell you, I love going to work every day. It's a neat place to work and neat place to work, great people. And, spring football in the past, and I'm old enough to remember, when they had the early leagues back in the 70s and early 80s, and, people just weren't sure about spring football. And it just felt weird. I think the atmosphere's changed now. I think people are to a point where they can't get enough during the fall. And when the spring kicks in, they're like, oh yeah, this is great. So, I just, like I said, I love going to work every day. It's a great place to work. I work with great people, and, the Battlehawks to me, as you'll find out as we talk, football to me is a family thing. Any players and coaches that I've been around and gone to battle with, so to speak, they become family members. And that's what this group has become for me as well.
You know what? I love it. And I wanted to ask, we talk about the coaching staff, just the atmosphere. Babs bringing up, that 2020 season. I've been fortunate to be a season ticket holder since that 2020 season. So every year since then. What is it like for you to witness? We've all witnessed the years of the St. Louis Rams, and some of us, in some cases, the football Cardinals. What's it mean to have pro football back in St. Louis, and where we have record-shattering attendance week in and week out, essentially?
Mm-hmm. I've got to tell you, I'll be honest with you. You just talking about it, I get goosebumps. I mean, it's incredible. And you talk about the Rams. I was with the 2015 Rams as sideline assistant with them, and being down on the sidelines for those games. I'm not going to say that the Battlehawks are better than the Rams, but it's a lot louder during Battlehawks games than it was for the 2015 Rams. Now, obviously, Kroenke, he just crapped on the whole city, and so people didn't come. So we didn't have a lot of times we outdrew, as the Battlehawks, we outdrew the Rams, and continue to do so just because. A lot. Yeah, it really does, and gosh darn it, I'll tell you what. I mean, the St. Louis is a football city. It really is. Oh, yeah. And I can tell you with my experience of coaching high school, I mean, you go to certain places around this area, the city shuts down, the town shuts down, and everybody's there on a Friday night. And that's football, man. That's what the city's all about. And I take a lot of pride in our city because, of all the guys, there were only a couple of guys, like in the front office and myself who are from St. Louis. And the guys in the UFL love coming to St. Louis to play football because they know it's going to be an atmosphere, a raucous atmosphere at that. And, so everybody likes to come to here to play. It's just, I take a lot of pride in my city our city as a football city, and they've proven it over and over again. And, I can't wait till next year and do it again.
Yeah, some of those games that I went to, I couldn't even hear the people next to me because it was so loud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
All right, Tom, let me ask you this. I look behind you and I see one of the most iconic plays, not just in St. Louis football history, but probably in the history of the city. Ricky Proehl's amazing game-winning touchdown pass to help the Rams win, of all scores too, 11-6, and advance to the Super Bowl. Take us through that memory for you as somebody experiencing that.
I'll tell you what. All right, now I wasn't actually with the team in '99, but I was there. I was in section 206. Okay. And I will tell you, my specific memory is I actually missed that play. Okay. When Kurt Warner let go of that ball, I thought he was throwing it away. From my angle, and I was out in that corner of the end zone, I thought, crap, he just threw it away. And I kind of looked down, and then I heard this eruption. And I went, what the hell happened? And Ricky Proehl's coming up like this. He's got it. And I'm like, what? I thought he threw it away. Honest to God, that is my exact memory. I thought he threw that thing away, and I missed it. I missed the catch. So
that's
I
awesome.
love to tell you otherwise, but
no, it's funny because I believe it was DeMarco Farr who even said the same thing. He's like, well, here's Torrey and there's Isaac looking at it. There's Falk in the backfield. So, okay, well, Kurt's just probably throwing it away, and nobody's going to get it. And then all of a sudden, Ricky Proehl, of all people, popped in and made that catch. And, I remember Mike Bush's amazing call of that and how he had even said, like, Ricky Proehl didn't have a single touchdown catch all year long. That was his first one, and that was by far the biggest. So, I think that's –
well, funny story. Ricky Proehl was actually with the Battlehawks in 2023 season.
Yeah, his son was also a part of the team.
I remember when I saw him the first time, and he came over to ask me about something. We were going over the iPads, and he wanted to know what kind of coverages they were seeing. And I felt like Chris Farley when he interviewed Paul McCartney on Saturday Night Live. Remember that one?
Yeah.
You remember when you were with the Beatles? I'm like, oh, remember when you caught that touchdown pass? Yeah, it's awesome. So it's really kind of a weird, like Chris Farley moment for me to be there with Ricky Proehl. It's like, hey,
like,
Ricky Proehl.
Do you know who you are, sir?
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. What is it like being able to work with a lot, not just, great guys and men and women in general, but just folks with all this great experience and knowledge of the sport?
Oh, like I said, I love going to work every day. I mean, when that alarm goes off at 5:30, I'm like, all right, let's do this. It's not like, I'm going to sleep 5 more minutes. It's incredible. I mean, and it's just, in all areas of my career, if you will. I'm in awe sometimes that I get to work with these guys. Not just the Battlehawk guys, but some of the great coaches here in St. Louis that I've worked with and had a chance to coach with. Mike Stewart out at Marquette, hell of a football coach. Mick Piccottaggio, who I worked for in the 90s and early 2000s at Lafayette. These guys, it's just there's so many experiences you have in that game, and everybody comes with them, and I learn something new literally every day, and I've been doing this. Heck, I've been around football. I took my first snap in 1970, as a kid, and been around it, in some
Oh,
form or
wow.
fashion.
See, I wouldn't have guessed
Yeah.
that. Uh-uh.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it must be all the food preservatives, but
Of course.
it's just I tell you what, we don't have enough time for me to tell you about all the experiences I've had with the great people in this game. It's been fabulous, and it's my passion. Obviously, hopefully, I think people tell that right away when they meet me. But it's incredible. I was talking to Leroy Glover is our defensive line coach for the Battlehawks, and I can't think of a guy I respect more than him. He's a fabulous football coach and a great man. And I told him before we left, I said, I love sitting in your meetings because I learn something new every time. Honest to God, I learned something new from him, and he's just that's just one example of the guys I get to talk with. And I have the privilege. I'm on the board for the National Football Foundation here in St. Louis. And if you haven't been to a luncheon, you need to go. We have luncheons monthly at Lombardo's up across from the airport by the Drury Inn. And we have special guests, every month. And I'm trying to remember who's coming November 20th. I can't remember who's coming to that one, but I can find out and let you know. But last month we had Frank Cusimano. We'll have Coach Drinkel come in the spring. We have a night where we have the Big Red, but I think I kind of lost my train of thought. So, but where were we going with that?
No,
well,
we were just
I'll change courses. I'll change courses right now. But we were talking about memories and big football memories. What is your best memory of being here in St. Louis on and off the field?
Wow. I think off the field, I think being a part of the Battlehawks and being a part of the Rams, that's been really, really cool. I have a lot of great memories with that. I think, when the Rams finally won that game against Tampa Bay to go to the Super Bowl, I don't know what could have topped that. That was just, I was sitting there, like I said, and just going, oh my gosh, a St. Louis team is going to the Super Bowl. On the field, there are a couple of things that come to mind. In 1972, we won a state championship. And I remember late in the game watching our guy run in for the third touchdown to make it, basically 21-0, that it was really going to happen. And that I still remember the feeling of that going, oh my God, this is going to happen. And the other one, I was, as you talked to before, I was a long snapper. I could still snap, to be honest with you. If we had enough time, I'd turn the camera and shoot a few. But I did play. Yeah,
definitely.
I did play.
All the time of the world for you.
in high school ball, I did play some nose guard, and that's when you could be 5'7" and 185 pounds and play defensive line. And my only touchdown, I still can see it. My buddy Steve came off the edge, was on a punt, and I came through the A gap on the punt block, and my buddy blew the punter up. Just I still see him just annihilate him, and the ball flew up in the air. It was like that movie moment where the ball's in slow motion, and I'm like watching it, and all of a sudden it's in my hands, and I look up and I can still see the goalposts. The only touchdown I ever got in my life, and that was pretty memorable. And it was funny because I was afraid I wasn't going to make it past the line, so I made sure I ran through the goalposts, through the middle of the goalpost, because I knew that'd be completely through. But that touchdown was definitely one of those memories I'll never forget. There's something special about that.
Yeah, I love that. And my thing is, So I remember being when I was playing high school, or when I was playing high school football, I actually was pretty good at long snapping in practice. Now and it's funny because two of my best friends, two of my brothers basically, were long snappers, whether it be on punts or whether it be on the field goal snaps. And they were better, but they were also linemen. Now, keep in mind, right now I'm 5'5", 165. I graduated high school in 2013, so you can kind of imagine what I was then. So I may be able to snap it good, but somebody's going to come at me, and we'll see how that goes. So what got you into wanting to be not just a long snapper, but a long snapping coach and instructor?
That's a great question. I'll tell you how I got into it. I was 8 years old, and our football team. Now you got to think back. We talked about St. Louis being a great football city, but Missouri is a great football state. And back in the 60s and 70s, there was a JFL, a Junior Football League, that was huge. I mean, every community had a team. West County, South County, North County, and all the counties. Everybody had teams. And we just happened at 8 years old to have the national punt, pass, and kick champion come out for our team. But we didn't have anybody to get him the ball. This kid could punt at 8 years old. He could punt 35, 40 yards. And but we had no way to get him the ball. So my dad said, you ought to learn how to do that. That would help your team. And I thought, okay. So he talked to a guy who had played at Mizzou, and he hooked me up with another guy that showed me how to grip the ball and kind of gave me a once over on how to do it. And I learned how to do it, and I've been doing it ever since. So how did I get into coaching it is also interesting, because I came home from college one summer, and my high school coach called and said, "Hey, we haven't had anybody that can snap a punt since you left, but we've got a couple guys." Yeah. He says, "We've got a couple guys who might be able to do it. Would you work with them?" Sure, send them over. So I came over that summer in my backyard a couple times a week. We snapped punts. I got them up and going, and the coaches were really happy about it, and I enjoyed doing it. And so I did it, and it got to a point where this guy told that guy, who told his cousin, who told his brother, and pretty soon I'm getting phone calls going, "Hey, can you show me how to do that?" And I've been doing it since the mid '80s. And then about 9 years ago, a lot of these long snapping camps start popping up. And there's a guy named Chris Rubio who runs a very successful, very prestigious long snapping camp. And he knows his stuff. He's really, really good at it. And we got talking one day, because some of my guys that I coached here in St. Louis went to some of his camps. So I forget who called who. He called me or I called him, and we're on the phone, and he said, "Well, why don't you come down?" He goes, I'd like to meet you and let's talk, and maybe you can represent the whole state of Missouri as our lead instructor. And I went and flew down to Dallas and did a camp with him, and we hit it off right away. And I've been doing camps for him ever since. And I am the regional instructor for the state of Missouri. So as a matter of fact, I have a free camp. I'm doing a free camp this Sunday, August 10th at D1 Sports in Manchester, Missouri, off of Weidman and Manchester. And to me, what I try to do, I do lessons every week, every Saturday. If it gets real busy, I'll do them during the weeknights. And I've had seasons where I've had too many guys. I don't like to take a lot of guys for a session, if you will. I like to keep it as individual as possible. But we'll do trainings every week. I do charge for that. I don't charge a lot, but I'll do free camps a couple times a year to kind of give back and give those guys that want to have an opportunity to try it a chance to do it kind of risk-free, if you will. I say, I don't charge a lot. I charge literally $40 a session. And I don't, when I go to the national camps, with Rubio and some of the other coaches. And I tell them what I charge. They just look at me, turn white, like, what are you doing? You're giving it away. And to me, it's always been, I don't want to make it a burden to come to these things financially.
Right.
Plus
Yeah,
the fact
respect
that. Yeah, and the other thing is, I want to see these kids be successful. So if somebody charges, and some guys do, they'll charge $125 for one lesson. For me, that's 3 lessons, and that gives me an opportunity to do more work and get them better. So it's about their success, and there's too much greed in our world anyway. I want to try and give back a little bit. This is something I love to do, to be perfectly honest with you. Hopefully not too many people will listen, but I'd almost do it for free. I love snapping, and I love the game, and I love giving back. So, but yeah, and to be perfectly honest with you, I do snap with my guys sometimes. And they're always amazed that I can still bring it. So, it's fun. I love doing it.
You said that was this Saturday?
This Sunday.
This
August
Sunday,
10th.
okay.
Sunday,
Okay.
August 10th. Perfect.
August 10th from 2 to 4 at D1 Sports. There's an online registration if you want to go to my Twitter, or X, if you will. It's at Swobo, SWOBO, at Swobo,
Okay.
and the link is on there. It's one of my. I posted it I guess yesterday or the day before. So yeah, we've got, spots are limited. I've already got about 15 guys coming, so
There you
I'll try and
go.
cut it off around
Awesome.
20-25. Yeah, I don't want to get them too big though, because then I don't get to work as much with each individual player. But
Right.
yeah.
It sounds like
Well,
a good
perfect.
time.
Oh, that's the best part about it. I want these kids to come in and have a good time, and
Mhm.
we'll laugh, we'll joke, we'll snap. We're gonna work hard. We're gonna do drills, and I the crazy part is, unlike a lot of sports trainers or personal trainers that the stereotypical ones, parents stay over here, kids come here and I'll work with you.
Yeah.
Parents don't talk to me. I invite the parents in. Okay. I want them right there on the field. And the reason is I want them to see what I'm doing. I want them to reinforce when they go home the drills that I've taught them. And I'll tell each kid when you're done, and we did this last Saturday. I said, okay, you're doing this drill, you're doing this drill, you're doing this drill. I pointed out to all my guys that were at the session. And I said, you understand why you're doing that drill? Yes, here because I did this and this. And I always tell the kids, I'm like Santa Claus. If I tell you to do drills and you come next week and you didn't do them, I'll know. I really
Right.
will. I mean,
It's true,
but
though.
but
That is
yeah,
so true.
yeah. But I want the parents involved. I have the parents come in. I have the parents do the drills. I'll say, okay, mom, dad, come over here. Hold their arms here while they come through, and I want you to watch their follow through, and so they see it. And then what I really ultimately try and build is a being that can actually disconnect their brain and just snap a football. I don't want them thinking. I want them just feeling the motion. It's all muscle memory, and when something goes wrong, they'll be able to figure it out. That was the thing that Alex Matheson, our long snapper with the Battlehawks, he was all UFL long snapper this year.
Yep.
And it was funny because I've known Alex for the last 3 years, and he always jokes around. He goes, "It's nice having you around because nobody knows what the hell I do." And it's like, yeah, okay, but we were talking early in training camp, and he was asking about this and that, and I said, "Look, Alex, here's what I'm going to do." I said, "I'm not going to coach you." And he looked at me like,
Mhm.
"What?" And I said, "What I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you what your ball's doing, and you're going to fix it." Oh, okay, that works. Because he's that good. I mean, if I tell him that he's getting a little wobble at the end, he knows exactly what it was. Or if I time him and I say, well, it was this such and such time, he knows how to fix it. So, he's one of those guys that you don't tinker with a real good hot rod. He's self-sustaining.
Well, after this event, we'll have to have you back on, and you'll have to tell us about it and how it went.
I'd love to come back. You guys are a lot of fun to talk to. I actually, I gotta tell you, I was enjoying the Cardinal conversation. I was listening in the background here. You're very generous giving Mo a B- for the trade deadline. I'm just gonna say that. Very generous.
It was worse.
Holy cow.
I will. Oh man.
Well, he just became my favorite person of all time.
Like B-? Are you kidding me? All right, but yeah, I respect your opinion.
You know what? That's okay. I understand you respect my opinion, and I have no problem with the fact that you're probably one of the 22% that might have said D or F.
I wouldn't have given him a D or an F because I think the Blaze thing is going to be good for us. It depends on what the other few prospects turn out to be, but I would have gone a C. Yeah,
that's fine.
like.
Trust me.
Okay. Yeah, and
honestly,
that's like
I don't think it was. I honestly don't think it was a shocking trade deadline because I think everybody knew who was going, and so it was very lackluster, so to speak. So
yeah,
Here,
uneventful. Yeah,
I got a comment that somebody said in regards to the trade deadline. They said solid B for getting rid of some dead weight. Not trading Arenado is a failure, but that's mostly on Arenado.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I think that about because to me that's kind of what sums it up. You get rid of some guys on expiring contracts, so you already knew you weren't going to get a whole bunch in return. There was guys that you would love to get rid of that can't because you decided to give everybody a no trade clause, basically. And to me, the only one and. Like I said, the Donovan trade, lack of a Donovan trade, that can go either way. You can either support it you can either understand it or you don't. And there is two sides. I do think it would have been good to trade him, but it's also good that he's still on the team. Now I think if this team was okay, yes, like I said, we are 58-58. We're right at 500 and still in the thick of the wild card race. If we were in dead last or as bad as, God forbid, how the Rockies are, then 90% of the guys that are aged 28 or over should have been traded. That's how I look at it. Keep the young guys, I would say keep Contreras. Contreras would be the 10% because he's fantastic. Yeah. He's a great leader. Yeah. He wants to be in St. Louis. He loves it. So Arenado's just like, I'm weighing my options. So
you hit a really good point, and it's a sore point for me because one of the things I like to talk a lot with my teams when I coach is leadership, and guys at certain points have to step up. And when Goldie left and Arenado was kind of the default captain in my eyes. I thought he was the superstar. He was the big name. I really expected him to step up and really take this team under his wing. And he just kind of stepped back like, I'm just here to play, and I was kind of disappointed with that. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I
kind of agree with that, actually. Yeah, I was actually talking to my son about that the other day because it just seemed like he was just. I keep telling Jeremy that most of them feel like they're going to a 9-to-5 job just to clock in, do their job, and go home.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I see that as well, and it's unfortunate because they're a better baseball team than their record, I think.
Right.
So, I agree with that wholeheartedly. Tom, first I want to say it has been an absolute pleasure having you on this evening. This has been a blast.
Yes,
and now that we already know
to meet you.
And now that we already know you're going to be on again, probably multiple times in the future. We always love recurring guests. I want to take this time for you to kind of give some leadership words of wisdom for anyone out there, and plug your socials. You can reiterate your camp this Sunday one more time.
Mhm.
You know,
Absolutely.
so kind of do your thing.
Yeah, I like I said, we got that camp coming up Sunday, August 10th, 2 to 4 at D1 training in Manchester, Missouri. It's completely free. Like I said, that's part of my way to kind of give back to football a little bit. I'm also, and I think this is where I was going earlier when I had a brain fog, talking about the National Football Foundation. I'm on the board for that, and I really, really would like you guys to come out to a luncheon one day, just to kind of meet everybody.
For sure.
But we have a podcast that we just started, probably about 2-3 months ago, and we have this past week we interviewed Mike Claiborne from KMOX, Cardinals broadcaster Mike Claiborne.
Okay.
So what we try to do is it's called STL in the Huddle, okay,
Mm-hmm.
and you can find STL in the Huddle on Spotify, Apple, iHeart, etc. We have different guests. We've had Mike Claiborne, we've had Ted Carter, president of Ohio State, was on. We've had Dave Bowler, our GM at the Battlehawks. We had Freedom. He was one of our Battlehawks guys came on. So we've got a neat little podcast that we do every other week. So if you get a chance, check that out. STL in the Huddle. You can find me on Twitter at Swobo, SWOBO, or Facebook, my coaching page, facebook.com/longsnapper50. So there's a surprise name, right?
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and you can guess 50 was my number. So, as far as words of wisdom, I think, it's funny because when you sent me the agenda, and I thought, oh, my gosh, what kind of words of wisdom would I have? Leadership's about not just telling people what to do. It's about having humility. It's about having compassion. It's about doing the right thing. And I think that's what we're kind of lacking. And if you're listening, I hope you take it to heart. Do the right thing, when it's hard to do. Have compassion for other people when it's hard to be compassionate, because a lot of division right now in our country. People looking at each other, yelling and screaming about this and that. It's like, you know what? Let's all just get together and figure it the heck out. Because if we don't, we're all going down. But that and find something you love to do. If you do, you won't work a day in your life. I've been retired from like real jobs for the last 10 years. Interesting story. And people say, well, you're retired. Why are you flying all over the place and do coach football? And like, it's fun. I figure out the equation. People will give me money to play football. So it's kind of a sweet deal. So find something you love to do and be very passionate about it and work hard. And, at the end of the day, you'll be satisfied, and it's a great feeling. So, guys, I appreciate you having me on. I apologize for missing the last time. I ended up having my 6th grandchild. So,
congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
You're the only person to apologize for having a grandchild. I just want to say that right now.
I didn't want to. I didn't want to leave you hanging, but there were things we had to take care of.
Totally understandable.
Well, that's funny because he messaged me, that night, and he told me, what was coming up and everything. I said, as long as everything's okay with your family, that is all that matters, and I still ring true to that to this very moment. So I'm just super happy for you and your whole family, and that's what matters most at the end.
Much appreciated. Thank you so much.
Congratulations again.
Yes.
Thank you.
Congratulations and we look forward to having you on again, folks. So Tom Swoboda, ladies and gentlemen, here on Roundabout Sports. Tom, we'll talk to you later,
Thank you.
friend.
Nice to meet you.
Same here. Thank you so much.
I look forward to it. Of course. What an amazing guy. I'm telling you right now.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Has great motivation, leadership, and honestly, long snapping is such an unsung hero position to really talk about. So for him to actually be able to delve more into it in depth is phenomenal. So major thank you to Tom Swoboda for joining us this evening, folks, as we wrap it up here on episode 142. And it's always sad because we have so many amazing viewers tuning in at this time, but you always leave them wanting more. And first off, I want to say we got so many amazing shows with Interstate 70 Sports Media. We have Issues with Wrestling with Christopher Miles. We have the Blues Fan Forum podcast. We got the Redbird Rundown. And I know Babs is working on some surprise projects behind the scenes as far as future shows. Of course, you got Roundabout Sports here. And we got a lot more in store for you in the future, folks. But I want to thank everybody for tuning in this week. Once again, you can find Roundabout Sports on Spotify, on iTunes, on iHeartRadio, on Pocket Cast, anywhere else you stream your podcasts. And as always, we close the show by putting up the NAMI helpline. For that, you dial 1-800-950-NAMI. That's 1-800-950-NAMI. The National Alliance on Mental Illness is the nation's largest grassroots mental health organization dedicated to building better lives for those who struggle with mental health, as well as their families in need. And we also put up the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline to end every show. And for that, you dial 988. The line is open 24/7, 365, 366 on leap years. Understand you're never alone in this world. There is always somebody out there who loves you, who cares about you, who wants nothing but the best for you. Everybody goes through struggles, trials, tribulations on a daily basis, and they should not be degraded. All of our feelings matter. Your feelings matter. But you shouldn't have to face the troubles of life alone. You're just a phone call, a text message, an email, an appointment away from what could be a life-saving moment for you. And you could also be the listening ears and watchful eyes for somebody else as well. I once again want to thank Tom Swoboda for joining us this evening. As always, I want to thank Babs. And I look forward to next week, right here at 6:30 p.m. CST, for episode 143 of Roundabout Sports. Until then, I'm the Maestro Jeremy Karp. She's the amazing Babs. And remember, life is a book full of empty pages just waiting to be written in. Make your lives worth reading. Good night, everybody.